It all starts at night with 3 people arriving at a house. One of them knocks on the door, and we see a woman inside wondering who it could be. Once she opens the door, the man who knocked instantly holds her at gunpoint. Intruding into the house, the 3 strangers learn from the woman that her daughter is present and a doctor. Speaking of him, the man descends the stairs, asking them what is going on. One of the intruders says his friend is shot. The doctor looks at the shot man and assures him he will be okay. Then a big man rushes into the house, only to receive a harsh greeting from the man with the gun. When the others leave elsewhere to deal with the injured man, one of the intruders stays with the woman to restrain her before knocking her out. This vile individual starts ascending the stairs until he enters the girl's room. He pushes her on the bed to violate her. Soon the huge man who got knocked out rushes to the girl's rescue. He chokes the much smaller man effortlessly and tends to the girl. After carrying her downstairs, he equips himself with a long wooden plank. We switch to seeing the doctor operate on the shot man. He takes out the bullet prior to stitching him. With the operation over, the man with the gun exits the room while holding the doctor at gunpoint. Unlucky for him, the big man is there to knock him out with a plank. The man who just got his stitches is next to receive the brutal treatment. Once the intruders are dealt with, the doctor and the huge man direct themselves to the woman with her daughter. The woman cries, saying she wants the man, who is still upstairs, out of her house. So the big man, Leonard, starts going up there. On another day, we see the doctor tending to the girl. They are Benjamin and Victoria, part of the Crumb family. He reminds her to eat her meat. When the family is together, the mother, Irene, tells them she loves this time of year because they get many visitors. Benjamin congratulates Lenny on his harvest this year. The big man seems to be the family's groundskeeper. Benjamin adds that his herbs have the highest potency he has ever seen. He is testing them now and thinks they could produce a higher strength serum. What this serum is, we currently don't know. Irene says she is proud of her son, along with being proud of Leonard. At night, a couple arrives at the house, except they arrive properly. Not at all how the first 3 wicked people did. After Irene welcomes them inside, the next thing we see is the man lying down elsewhere, receiving a massage from Victoria. Then the doctor enters the room to inject the man's neck with a syringe. On the following morning, the woman he was with comes to Irene and asks if she has seen the man. Irene says he went for a walk with Leonard. Once the lady starts eating, Irene says she could take the lady to the place she thinks they are at. But it doesn't look like that's going to happen because the lady falls into her plate of food. Her breakfast was contaminated. That is why. Later, we observe Victoria injecting Irene and Leonard with a syringe. Benjamin injects her. Subsequently, he tells his mother she should test the lady who arrived for compatibility. Irene has already run the lady's toxic screens, which show she has and other illegal substances in her system. Benjamin says this is too bad. However, something good can still come from her, so he intends to put her in the freezer for future. Afterward, we see a sheriff sitting in his vehicle. A dispatcher radios him to say there is someone named Angel Valent who wants to meet him. He is a private investigator looking for a missing person. At the house, Leonard covers the lady who lost her consciousness in a long bag. Then, he uses that wooden plank to take her life. Moving along, the huge man sits at a table with Benjamin, who tells the former he thinks of him as a son. Leonard gets around to asking him how they started consuming people. Benjamin answers that in times of desperation, people will do whatever to survive. Following this, we see the sheriff talking to the investigator, Angel. The latter asks if there is a place where people could stay in this town. The sheriff tells him that Crumb's place is like that, but it requires a reservation. The man speaks well of the family, perhaps being ignorant of what they do. Back at the house, another couple visits. We learn they are newlyweds. Irene welcomes them inside and leaves to have her son tend to them. At a different time, we watch the newlyweds enjoy themselves in the kitchen. They are laughing and smiling, not realizing what's in store for them. When Irene returns home with Victoria, the man presents the guacamole they made. Benjamin is there too now, telling his mother to enjoy it. Yet Irene stands in one place with a strange attitude. The lady says her husband wants to cook dinner, something Irene says would be wonderful. Later, the family sits at the dinner table, and the guest lady approaches it with the prepared food. She says she found freshly butchered meat that looked like pork. Of course, we know what it truly is. She hopes the family does not mind that they used it. Benjamin says they don't mind at all. During this time, we learn he is Victoria's father. Since that is the case, the girl is a product of inbreeding. On the next day, a girl shows up at the house, saying her car broke down on the road. She asks Leonard if he can help her, and the huge man shows his compliance. Then Irene exits the house to offer a drink to the girl. Thus she walks inside. While the girl drinks the beverage in there, Benjamin comes to them, learning the girl's name is Ricky. It doesn't take long for her to start sleeping at the table. We realize the Crumbs manage to inject their sedatives in whatever they can. Benjamin says Ricky is perfect. Shifting to the workshop, Benjamin works with his daughter on a restrained Ricky. Once the doctor injects her with the syringe, she screams. The next scene shows him being slightly annoyed by a ringing phone that no one is answering. Picking it up, the man stands up due to what he hears. He starts wearing a concerned face and says he understands. Soon Benjamin is talking to the sheriff and Angel. The private investigator shows him a photo of someone we don't see. He says the person has been missing for a respectable amount of time. The doctor tells him all of their guests make reservations, meaning the person in the photo did not. Therefore, this isn't the house the police should be coming to search for a missing person. Then Irene walks over to the group to give a bag of food to Angel before the lawmen leave. Following this, Irene bathes Victoria and says the girl began taking the serum at the right time. Irene hopes her daughter has many more years to remain young, in addition to being pretty. Victoria asks her mother if she likes Leonard for the girl. All Irene says is that the man loves her and will take care of her. The scene concludes with Victoria telling her mom she loves her. Later, a cyclist happens across the house. He gets Benjamin's attention by saying his bike broke. The doctor offers his helping hand by telling the biker to follow Leonard. Inside the house, he informs his mother of their new guest, who does not have a reservation. Soon the biker meets the family and says his name is Michael. When they all go inside, Leonard releases the air from the bike's rear tire. Michael returns to it to see the flat tire, making him decide to stay at the house for somewhat longer. As he showers in the room given to him, Victoria is there to look through his phone. The man exits the shower to catch her doing it and pushes the girl away from it. At this moment, Leonard enters the room to handle the much smaller man by throwing him against the wall as if he were a toy. Then we witness Leonard's Michael into smaller parts. In the next scene, we see new characters arriving at the house. One of them feels the need to record everything while talking about it. Victoria comes out to the porch in a white dress to greet them. She asks if they have a reservation, and the one named Spencer says they do. At another time, one of the girls who arrived asks Victoria what the Wi-Fi password is, but Victoria does not understand what she means until the girl calls it the internet. They don't get the internet there, says Victoria. This leads to the girl approaching her mom to ask why they don't have the internet. After Irene says they don't need it, Victoria asks what she doesn't want her to find out. Irene simply answers there is nothing there for her. Soon the boy named Lenz seems to bother Leonard by recording the big man and asking him questions. However, Lenz isn't the one Leonard wants to destroy. He nearly charges at Spencer because he sees him with Victoria. Since she tells him they were merely walking, Leonard leaves angrily. He follows this by walking into the room Benjamin occupies to yell that the new people need to leave immediately. The doctor guesses he is angry due to Spencer, but they are guests who have made reservations, which means the family cannot do away with them. At night, the doctor joins his guests on the porch and Lenz wants to interview him. Claiming to not be interesting, Benjamin rejects the interview. Then he takes his daughter away to leave their guests alone. Lenz mentions how creepy the place is. Spencer doesn't care. All he cares about is how attractive Victoria is. Out of jealousy, the girl named Sandy says Victoria probably can't dance. She also says it's weird that the Crumbs act like they're from the 1800s. Afterward, Sandy smokes alone with her friend, Kat. As they do, Victoria joins them. Sandy gets her to take a smoke of the illegal substance. Soon Spencer startles the trio with his sudden presence. Once he asks Victoria what kind of guys she likes. Leonard appears as unexpectedly as Spencer did, just to say she likes Leonard's kind. He notices the girl is smoking an illegal substance and says her mom would be upset if she knew about it. Following this, the huge man stands near Spencer to intimidate him by asking if he's leaving in the morning. In the morning, Lenz is recording outside. He starts to whisper, saying the doctor has a lab in his workshop. He wonders what kind of experiments he does. Shortly after, he makes a mistake by attempting to get inside without permission. Unlucky for him, Benjamin appears behind him to ask if he can help. Of course, Lenz gets startled, but the man acts in an accommodating way, asking if the boy wants to see his lab. When they are inside, Benjamin says he's studying the causes and effects of human cellular degeneration. Lenz guesses this means the doctor is stopping the aging process. Benjamin gives the boy some of the technical details of what he did. He also clarifies that what he does stops aging, rather than reverses it. Hearing this excites Lenz. He wants to try it, yet Benjamin says it would be best if he returned to his friends. Later, the group is leaving and Irene gives them takeaway food. Due to liking her, Spencer asks Victoria if she has a phone or an email. Leonard protects her by getting in Spencer's way to recommend that the boy leave now. So the group gets into their car to drive away. They are lucky they had a reservation. Irene wishes they didn't. Then a guy on a motorbike arrives at the house. A reservation is something he does not have. At a different hour, Victoria checks on him in his given room and screams. This prompts her father to rush up there to see what the problem is. The doctor says their guest is overdosing. Thus, he starts carrying him to the workshop. In there, Benjamin gets him to drink a certain liquid, which makes the guy vomit. Despite having vomited, he is still unconscious. In the morning, though, the family hears his motorbike revving. They exit the house to learn the guest, whose life they could have taken, has just left. Benjamin is disappointed with this outcome. At night, Benjamin kisses Victoria on the lips, and Leonard watches it with jealousy. Once they are alone, Victoria puts her hand on the huge man to communicate everything is fine. Soon we see a couple sitting in their car parked near the house. The man complains to his wife that the crumbs look like Hicks. Fortunately, he behaves decently when the couple gets out of the car to start talking to them. As all of them sit inside after having eaten dinner, the man finds it odd that Benjamin is a neurosurgeon living in such a secluded area. Switching the topic, his wife wants to play the game charades. Therefore, she stands up to start dancing and Irene gets uncomfortable watching it. The lady's husband guesses a few times what she's trying to show but gets it wrong. Benjamin is also unable to guess correctly. Victoria is the one to get it right by calling her an exotic dancer. Then the woman wants Victoria to dance with her. While they do, the latter falls because of her low dancing skills. This causes Leonard to look at the couple intimidatingly. Left alone, the man tells his wife they have to get out of there. Subsequently, the Crumbs learn the couple has left. They go outside and Leonard informs them they left this morning. Irene slightly scolds him by saying he should never let the keys of the guests out of his sight. Alone with Leonard, Victoria wants him to know she is all right after her fall yesterday. Plus, the woman was nice. At night, another visitor arrives to whom Irene says he's in luck, for they just had a cancellation. The next thing we see is him lying in the doctor's working area. Victoria is lying there too to receive a vital essence from him, until her father considers it time to disconnect her. Moving along, we see the private investigator, Angel, snooping around the Crumb house. He stealthily moves about and enters it. In there, he is forced to hide from Irene delivering a tray of food to their guest. He hears her say that the doctor will be there soon. When Angel leaves, he runs into the sheriff. They both ask each other what they are doing out there. The sheriff says he was patrolling. Due to what he heard in the house, Angel asks if the doctor still sees patients. Not answering him, the sheriff says the Crumbs are regular people living a regular life. Back in the house, Benjamin checks on their guest to learn he recently passed away, so he instructs Leonard to prepare him as. On another day, a new couple arrives. The man says they saw a post about the house on Facebook, and the lady adds they don't have a reservation. This means the couple is up for the taking. Later, the man tells Irene they are vegans. Therefore, the meaty food she is preparing is not for them. They might be vegans, yet the man still smokes. Afterward, he enters the workshop, where he instantly becomes amazed by Benjamin's lab. His amazement, however, is very short-lived because Leonard gives him a surprise knockout. He follows this action by carrying his partner to join him in the place of operation. Once Leonard restrains her, she pleads not to be hurt. Benjamin tells the massive man to get Victoria to prepare the donor for her. On the next day, Irene notices something is wrong with her in the mirror. Her son comes to her, and she wants him to look at her face. Irene is worried she is aging again. Benjamin advises her to enter his workshop. In there, he injects his mom with an upgraded serum. Then we see two new girls arrive at the house. Leonard says they were lost. Meanwhile, Angel is doing research on his laptop in his car. He's looking at a website of an old article that has a doctor on it claiming to have discovered the fountain of youth. Switching back to the Crumbs, we see the new girls lying restrained in the workshop. One of them wakes up and starts to panic. This prompts Irene to stab the poor girl to her demise. Benjamin gets angry, saying she should have waited for him to make an extraction first. Later, Angel returns to the house, where he finds the lifeless girl in the workshop. On the following day, Benjamin tells his mother that Victoria is getting worse. He needs to replace her kidneys. The doctor estimates she has a few months left to live at best. Irene says Benjamin's father would have known what to do. At a different time, Leonard tells Victoria she can't leave. She belongs there with him, but she says he doesn't understand. She isn't normal. After he says he loves her, Victoria reminds him that she's a product of inbreeding. Leonard puts his hand gently on her face and says it doesn't bother him. She also informs him her kidneys are damaged. She overheard her parents talking about her sickness, kissing her. Leonard says he's not giving up on the girl. The next scene has Angel showing the article he found to the sheriff. Angel thinks it's Benjamin in the article, but the sheriff says it could be his grandfather. Regarding the lifeless girl Angel found in the workshop, the sheriff says the doctor usually helps with things like autopsies. Therefore, the sheriff thinks nothing of it. Then Angel says the girl in the photo he showed the sheriff is his niece, who has been missing for 1 month. What he's doing is investigating what happened to her. So the sheriff agrees for them to meet at the Crumb house tomorrow. On that day, the two of them occupy the property and Angel points to where he wants to search. Once Leonard opens the door to the workshop, Angel rushes inside. Though he frantically searches in the lab, he is unable to find the girl. Angel asks him about her and Benjamin says he sent her back to the morgue after he finished the autopsy. Since the situation didn't play out in his favor, Angel rushes out of there in frustration. As Angel sits in his car, the sheriff gifts him with a package from Irene. When he's driving away, he tosses the package out of his window. Subsequently, Victoria asks her dad what is wrong with Leonard. He tells her the man is fine, yet he's not family. He also says family can be more than just family. However, Victoria does not think this way. She says she wants to be with Leonard, not Benjamin. The girl wants him to remember he is her father before she walks away. Following this, Benjamin tells Irene he likes Leonard. He wants to make a contrasting point, and Leonard enters the room so he can hear what it is. He starts choking the doctor, demanding to know what he wanted to continue saying. The big man thinks the contrasting point Benjamin wanted to make is that Leonard is black. It takes Irene to soften the angered giant for him to ease his grip on Benjamin. Then we see the doctor walking in the woods, where he encounters a young boy. He shows how twisted he is by taking the for no apparent reason. Upon returning home, the man sees Leonard and Victoria on the porch. He tells Leonard he is sorry. After Benjamin puts his hand on him, Leonard returns the friendly gesture. Moving along, we observe a couple being intimate somewhere near the woods. A man is there to watch them do it. Aside from him, Leonard is also present. He walks over to the couple to slam the guy's head with a shovel. Soon he happily walks over to the girl he likes and says he has something to show her. He takes her to the lab, where she sees a girl lying there. Realizing Leonard did this for her, Victoria kisses him. In the next scene, we see the guy on the motorbike has returned. He is Cameron, joining the Crumbs for dinner. He says they were very kind by saving his life, and he's glad they did. They recommend he stay the night because they have no guests. When Cameron is outside, Victoria approaches him to ask why he tried to do what he did the last time he was there. She thinks he has a lot going for him, so she can't understand why he would choose to do that. Cameron answers he has a fiancée, but he does not love her. He loves someone else. Inside the house, he says Irene reminds him of his grandmother, who recently passed away. Missing her greatly, he starts crying. Irene says he reminds her of her brother. She adds he was special. Then she tells Cameron he should never be ashamed of who he is. She is certain that the one he loves him back. It is all that counts, she says. Later, Leonard makes his way to Victoria, telling her she should be in the lab for the serum injections. Irene asks who the donor is, and Leonard says it's Cameron. Once he leaves, we see they don't want this particular guest to perish. Afterward, they tell Benjamin how they don't want Cameron to be Victoria's donor. It turns into an argument. Victoria leaves the lab and Leonard catches her to say the guy is perfect as a donor. He says this is her life at stake. Yet she asks what about Cameron's life. Inside the lab, Irene argues heatedly with her son. She wants him to understand Cameron is special. On his leaving day, he says farewell to the Crumbs. He even hugs the two members who didn't care to save his life. Switching to Angel in his car, the man calls the police. He says he found a missing persons poster of a girl with a fatal injury. Soon he enters the workshop and rescues the girl whom Leonard brought in. She gets on the road, where the sheriff drives by to pick her up. Following this, Leonard sneaks up on Angel with the plank. Unlucky for him, Angel turns around to point his gun at him. Finally, the man enters the lab to point the gun at the Crumb family. He calls all of them degenerates. Benjamin tells him they are merely trying to save someone they love. The man doesn't care, for they took the life of his niece. Thus, the doctor wants to make him an offer. He can grant Angel an ageless life in addition to him not having any illnesses. However, Angel knows this implies having other people perish. At this moment, the sheriff arrives with his shotgun pointing at the Crumbs. Feeling safer with the officer's help, Angel tries to handcuff the big man first. Much to his dismay, though, the man whose help he was relying on points his shotgun at Angel. We shift to the rescued girl sitting in the sheriff's truck. She hears the shotgun blast and probably thinks the sheriff did away with someone from the wicked family. But that wasn't the fate of the characters in this film. She gets a surprise as horrid as the one Angel received by seeing a smiling Leonard near the window, waving at her. All she can do is scream in fear.